Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. Man, it's been an interesting week, just getting back into the swing of things after HomeDadCon and everything else. And this is actually kind of like take two of trying to do this interview because I had a bit of a family emergency with a situation with my daughter. And so we've got a great guest tonight, though. He was very gracious to adjust his time from last night to come and hang out with Danny and I tonight. And we're going to be talking about books he's written, his life, fatherhood journey, and just maybe even share some fun stories about HomeDadCon that he has. And he's got lots of stories. I got the honor of getting to have breakfast and coffee with him this week. And so we're going to be talking with Hogan Hilling a little bit later. But before that, Danny, how was your week, man?
My week has been fast. I'm still not. I still think it's Tuesday, and it's definitely not Tuesday anymore.
No, it's the other T.
Right, it is. It is the other T, and it's been very busy, which is good though. It's been a lot of things, especially since after the convention. Have a lot of new things coming in that I get to help out with, and I'm having a blast. Really, it's been kind of tiring, and I realize I'm not acting my age right now, let's say, but I've been enjoying it. Even though like at 8 o'clock, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go. I'm going to lay down. You kids can handle it, right? But it's been tiring, honestly. But it's been really, really had a great week. Everything's going my way. I just got to toot my own horn there.
I was going to ask what age you were talking about. Like, I wasn't sure if you were talking younger or
middle
older.
age, man. Middle age. No, yeah, I'm definitely acting. Yeah, older. Yeah, it's the mileage, man. It's the mileage. It's been a long time, and but I've had a really good week. Been talking to a lot of people. Been really just reconnecting with a lot of people from like at the convention and then afterwards. People that I didn't get to talk to, long enough, or get to discuss one thing or another, or just stuff that we realized we had in common that we want to talk more about. So it's just kind of the continuation of that brotherhood of fatherhood that we kind of picked up at the convention. Definitely. How about you there? I heard somebody finally came in and fixed your face. Boom.
Well, yeah, I sat in a dentist chair for 2 hours today. Had some cavities taken care of, so we're all good there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, my youngest turned 6 this past week, and so we celebrated her birthday, and then she decided to do some acrobatic stunt and kind of like cut her head open just a tiny bit, and caused a whole bunch of drama last night. But everything is good there. I think the big thing that happened this week was we put on a virtual memorial for CJ Trader, who unfortunately passed away the Friday of the convention in his home. He passed away in his sleep, and a lot of guys knew him. Actually, Al Watts, Frank Kuiper, and Charlie O'Hara all went to his memorial. And so it was great for us to have some guys from the organization go and just kind of be there for his family. I'm actually tonight drinking some Irish whiskey in his honor because that's one of his favorite drinks. So I've got some of that with me tonight. But yeah, I mean, it was that was a little hard. That was quite hard actually to just kind of hear that news. But like I said in the memorial service, it really just showed the amount of guys that came and have been around. It just shows that if anything happens in that kind of capacity, that the organization has this amazing group of guys. It's like the brotherhood of fatherhood, like you were talking about, who come around and are just ready to basically get active and involved in whatever way they need to. So that to me just brought a lot of joy to me to see that just take place with just like the snap of a finger. So so it was a good week. Today was insane. A lot of moving around. I literally didn't sit down until dinner time. And then I ate and took like a 10-minute power nap. So I feel you on the whole like sleeping thing. But yeah, so not a bad deal. But the other thing that was really cool that happened this week was I just was on Facebook in the I think it was one evening or whatever, and maybe Sunday evening, and I saw that Hogan Hilling was in his RV, and he's been traveling around the country, running into all these dads that he's known over the years and just reconnecting with them, which is just really cool. And he was saying that he was connecting with the dads that he's had in his books. And I was like, well, I would have been too young to have been in any of his books, but I feel like if I was an older dad, I feel like I would have been a pretty good possibility to get in there. So I was just like, hey, I know I'm not in any of your books, but I would love to meet you. And you're going to be in Louisville and I'm in Cincinnati, and that's only about an hour and a half away. And he agreed to come over and spend some time with me. And so we got to hang out, and that's kind of how this all was able to get connected. So I'm excited that Hogan's here tonight to chat.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So with all of that put in place, because a fun little tee up, I'd like to welcome Hogan Hilling to the show. Hogan, how are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. And thanks for putting out that message, because it was so cool. I said, hey, you guys showing some love, I might as well stop by. No, I'm glad you did. I had a great time meeting you, and it was just really nice because I couldn't come to the Cincinnati convention, and I was just thrilled after talking to you that the convention is in really good hands, and the fact that you guys were able to pull this off post COVID-19. And then, of course, my connection to Danny now, because he got an award. Congratulations, Danny. Just embrace it and enjoy it. I'm sure it was well deserved. And so it's fitting that I'm here in my RV and I'm talking to you guys. So
I'm jealous that you have this RV and you're driving around. That's something that, if I was in your place where I didn't have any kids, as an empty nester type of deal, that I would want to do the same thing and get out there and see the country and run into friends for sure.
Well, I always dreamed of doing this, and I can't even believe it's happening because, like you said, I had written some books and a bunch of dads were in there. And at the time that it was published and everything, I thought, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea, like, to get an RV and just start driving around? And actually, a lot of the dads I didn't even meet, I'd never met before. And I think I told you when we were having coffee that the welcoming and the hospitality that I have received from guys that I haven't even met, and also guys that I've only met at conventions and maybe spent like a few hours with them, has been really overwhelming, but also grateful.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You're kind of a legend.
It goes back to what you guys mentioned earlier about the brotherhood of fatherhood. I mean, I'm hanging out with Mike Sager, who I probably only had a few hours of conversation, and I spent like 3 days with the guy.
Nice.
He was so entertaining, and it was great. So anyway, I feel very blessed that I'm able to do this.
Danny, what were you saying there?
Well, Hogan, you're a living legend. I don't know if you get that. You may not get that. You've always seemed like a very humble person about your celebrity and the stuff that you've done in the past. But I mean, just the award, and I don't want to talk about that too much because I really don't like tooting my own horn in that way. But every year the board gets together and puts that out. Stop. I don't need Kleenex yet, but gives that award to someone that's really done something. And I will say, for me in Raleigh, and I think it was Raleigh 1, so 2015. But that was the first time I ever saw you, and that was, your name became like, oh well, that's Hogan Hilling, and it was one of those things that was just really impressive to me, was the amount of love everybody had for you at that convention. And I'd never met you, but it was just like, oh no, we love this guy. And I didn't know why specifically. I didn't know that you'd written any books at that time or anything, or that you'd been on Oprah or all this other, that you'd been an amazing dad for what it was, 20 years or something as an at-home dad, but a very long time doing the same job I'm doing. But everybody in that room, you could just feel it. when you were they brought you up and, I think on stage or up in the front.
Now you're making me feel guilty that I wasn't there at Cincinnati.
No, not at all. No. And anytime you want to come to the convention, I'll put you up.
I was gonna say, I think that, right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe that there's definitely, he's on the hook for Phoenix from what I understand.
Yeah. You need anything, you need a room, you need a ticket, you need
I think I'm definitely going to be there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But thanks for the kind words. It's it's nice to know that people care about you that much, and and when Al Watts was actually a major player in doing this, because I actually, and I'll tell the story a bit. So I was at the convention, and I was just roaming around, and somebody yelled out, "Hey, these guys are looking for you. Where you been?" And I'm going like, "Well, I'm just trying to take a break from the whole thing." And so I go into the main room, and the next thing you know, that's when they made a decision to do the Hogan Hilling Award.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you, when you and I asked how overwhelming that was to you, it was really overwhelming to me too, to actually think that they would, to this extent, to name an award after me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit in time with you and ask you some different questions about things, because everybody, well, not everybody, a good portion of people know about you being on the Oprah show. It was something that honestly, I had heard about, but I didn't know too much about. And I actually went on YouTube and I just looked up Hogan Hilling Oprah, and it popped up this little 3-minute segment, and talked about you and your son and the things that you were going through, and how you, basically just the immense amount of time and things that you were putting into your son's life. And for the majority of us who are stay-at-home dads, we do put in a lot of time and effort, but when you have a child who has other things going on in their lives that are going to draw more energy out of you than the normal parent, it was very interesting to just kind of see that, Oprah found your story or whatever. And so I just kind of wanted to ask though, how did that come about? This was, your son was how old when you guys did the segment? 8 or 9?
He was 11.
He was 11. Okay. So, prior to that, so you had 11 years before that all took place. How did that story come out, and what kind of things came out of that?
Okay. So just briefly, when my oldest son, Grant, was 2 and Wesley was 1, that's when I decided to stay home and be the primary caregiver.
What year was that?
1991. Okay. So Wesley was born in 1989, and Grant was born in 1988. And so prior to me making a decision, we had discovered that Wesley was having developmental problems. Long story short, they diagnosed him with what's called Angelman syndrome, and it's caused by a deletion in the chromosome. So basically, he's missing information for his brain to communicate with all parts of the body. So another example would be like Down syndrome. They have one too many chromosomes, so that's why their brains are overloaded, so they can't function normally. So Wesley cannot walk, he can't talk, he just can't function, and he needs 24/7 care. So we were trying to balance, because I own my own business and my wife was a school teacher. She was a speech pathologist. So we're juggling this around, and I'm thinking to myself, I go Wesley needs more care. So we looked at it just like most at-home dad situations. It wasn't a default thing. My wife had the benefits. And so then we just downsized, and we just made it work. And so at that time in 1991, we were kind of an anomaly at-home dads. And then all of a sudden the media started hearing about me. I started actually a dad's club at one of the schools. And so I got a lot of media attention. And then in 1999, I get a phone call from ABC, and they wanted to do a fathers and sons documentary. They said they wanted to interview me. And right before that phone call, I had written this poem about Wesley.
Just sitting there driving, and you start really thinking about what's important in life. I've got a boy back there who can't talk. You know, what kind of relationship are you having with your son? Instead of walking with you, I will crawl with you. Instead of focusing on what you cannot do, I will reward you with love for what you can do. Instead of isolating you, I will create adventures for you. Instead of feeling sorry for you, I will respect you. And so, I know someday I'm gonna have my special moment with him in a different way that nobody can take away from me. And that's what I'm looking forward to. With Wesley, I've begun to realize that the father-child relationship is about the soul.
I wrote it because I was trying to cope with his diagnosis, and it actually helped me realize that. And I don't know where it came from, and I don't know how I did it, but when I see Wesley, I don't see his disability. I just see Wesley. So I just treated him like a normal kid.
That's beautiful.
And so I went to do the interview, and I read the poem. Well, what they said was, you know, we're not going to ask you any questions. We just want you to talk about being a dad. So I just started talking, and then I read the poem, and you know, if you watch the video, it was like a no-brainer. They picked me, they put me on the show, and I think Shaquille O'Neal was in there, and a few other actors, and there were other dads there, and I actually got to meet some other great dads that weren't at-home dads, so it was kind of a mainstream thing. So then in 2001, you know, I get a phone call, and it's like the producers of Oprah, and I'm going like, I'm thinking like, really?
Yeah, is this a joke?
And I'm in shock. Yeah. And so then they started asking me questions, at-home dads, because they just came up with this like sudden idea. You know how the media is, they get an idea and all of a sudden, you know, they got to get it on. And so they did their research, but they didn't know about Wesley. So when they asked me, what about your kids? I told them, I said, oh, by the way, you know, Wesley's got special needs. And all of a sudden they kind of drew interest because, you know, they were looking for somebody unique. Mm-hmm. And then I told them about my parents on ABC. So, I mean, you know, how lucky can I get? Oprah calls, and it was like, you know, I was already on the show on ABC. So they saw the video, they called the next day and they said, can we have a camera crew? So they came down that weekend. And then they said, well, we want you to come and be on the show the following Wednesday. So everything just happened so fast. And so like, you know, me, I'm just going like, okay, I'm going to be on Oprah. What do I do? What do I say? And so I get there, long story short. Usually what they do is they put you in a green room when you go on the show. And they didn't put me in a green room. And I didn't know why they were doing that. They just put me right into the audience. So I get in the audience, and they introduce the first at-home dad, and he gets a prize. He gets a weekend golf trip and tickets to the Tampa Bay football game. And at that point, I realized I was getting something, but I didn't know what. And I'm a big basketball fan, and I'm thinking like, okay, like, am I going to have dinner with Bobby Knight or, you know, Mike Krzyzewski, and I'm going to go to the Final Four, VIP treatment, all this stuff. And before I could even think about what's going to hit me, she introduces me. I get up there, and you know, I try to do my best to just be myself, but I'm kind of mumbling a little bit and everything, and I'm nervous. And the next thing I know, she says the word Daimler Chrysler. And she said, we're giving you a van with a wheelchair lift in it.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
At the time we only owned a van. We were only surviving on one car because, you know, we had the budget. And so I had to take Wesley, put him in the car and in the front of the van, and take the wheelchair, put it in the back. So that was kind of like a huge thing for me, because now we have two cars, plus I can just wheel Wesley in and out.
Yeah.
And so just to give you an idea of how shocked I was literally standing on the stage, and everybody was yelling out, walk to the car, walk to the van, open the van, start the van. I mean, you know, so anyway, I got in the van, and then at that time I realized I have to do this Price is Right or Let's Make a Deal moment. I started finally, getting into the act, and I'm like sticking my hand out, cheering on the horn, right?
Yeah, get them TV ratings.
Yeah. Then I get backstage, and they said, "Well, if you want to take the van for a drive, you can." I said, "I'm in no kitchen to drive right now, but I could use a drink." So it was a matter of just good timing and luck, and I'm grateful that Oprah did that, and she recognized 3 other at-home dads there, and it was just really nice that she did that.
That's awesome. Wow. I mean, I watched the video. I mean, you're a young man at that time. Like, I can only imagine like a young dad going through that. that was pretty wild for just to watch it from that standpoint. I mean, how old were you at that time?
Let's see. I think I was 40.
Okay.
40 something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
so you're about,
I'm 66 now.
okay. So you're about my age then, basically, because I'm 41. So yeah, I would definitely be exactly in your, I would have probably collapsed with just the immense emotion. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
So that all takes place. Had you even written a book at that time, or was it just the time that you were just with Wesley at that time?
No, at that time, what happened was, and if you guys, if whoever the at-home dads that are listening, if you can do this, if you can journal and write just one little thing about a moment you had every day, or after 3, what I would do is after every 3 or 4 days, I would think back, and I would put keywords down in a journal, and I would just write one funny thing my kid did, or one thing I learned about being a dad. I mean, just a bunch of positive things in there, right? And it grew from the first journal was like a calendar situation. I would only write a sentence, couple sentences per week. But as I got more good at it, then I think about the third journal, every day was full. And I did that for 8 years. And somebody said to me, "Well, you should write a book." And that's how I got into writing. So my first book didn't come out till 2002, after Oprah.
Which book was that?
The Man Who Would Be Dad. And basically it was like a chicken soup for the soul book, but stories only written by one dad.
Okay. And is that so I'm looking at that book currently. I'm looking at the cover of it. Is that you on the front cover?
Yeah. And that's Wesley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's on my shoulder.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you've written 12 different parenting books, it looks like.
Yeah, but I think 10, something like that. And the first 2 books I wrote by myself, and then I co-authored a book with a mom. And then I got in a major accident, and I wanted to write kind of a chicken soup for the soul book, where I would invite guys to come and just tell their stories, right?
Yeah.
And so Al Watts once told me when I met him that he wanted to write a book, be an author at one time, but basically he wanted to do an historian book or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was having some medical issues, and I knew I couldn't do the book by myself, so I invited Al to do it. So I co-authored 2 books with Al.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've co-authored a few books with some different guys that I know. Yeah. I mean, I just happened to be scrolling through here on Amazon. I'm finding the Dadly Dads, Parents of the 21st Century, and on the front cover you've got Austin Dowd, who co-authored it with you, and then there's a very familiar figure on the very front cover of this, because there's a big old picture of the one and only looks like Don Hudson there. Oh yeah. and I'm trying to figure out there's a guy in this, and this might be too much to try to figure out, but there's a guy on the front cover of this. He's got a huge mustache, and he's got black gloves on. He looks like he's maybe like a UFC referee or something.
No, he's an MMA referee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's one badass dude. Yeah, he refs MMA. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, you look at the guy. He's he's the guy that you want to mess with, but he's a real lovable dad, and it's just. And I was very blessed, because I went on the internet, and those guys dispelled all the unfortunate stereotypes that are of men, because they really put their heart out into these stories. And some of them made me cry, and others, like Shannon's, I couldn't stop laughing. I mean,
Oh yeah, Shannon will make you laugh all day long. Yeah, no, well, that's the other thing too. Like, yeah, so along with the fact that you've got all these other books, you seem to be very supportive of just the National At Home Dad network and the guys in it. And I mean, I know like Shannon Carpenter, we had him on the show a few weeks ago talking about his new book, and I saw where you actually you were in town for his the launch of his book that Wednesday before HomeDadCon, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was very happy that I was able to do that for Shannon because he really deserves to be heard because he's one of the many exceptional dads that I've met in my life. And even his wife has been so supportive of the whole stay-at-home dad role and everything. And Shannon's got such a great heart, and he's so creative in his fatherhood skills.
It really is.
Yeah, to say Danny's got one of his life hacks always on hand there at his house.
Yeah. He mentioned at one point, he said, you should just put a shop vac, a wet dry vac in your kitchen. Keep it in your dining room. And I went, why did I not think of that? Yeah. And so I immediately, I'm like, I need my shop vac in here, because just like he said, and he said it in his book too, the little ones aren't going to make it. The one that I use for the carpet, it is not going to live through my kids, Cheerio episode or whatever it might be. Yeah. My kids, are older now, but the ability to just walk over there and go, oh yeah, it's all gone. Milk spilled, Cheerio spilled, whatever it is, it's gone.
Yeah. Let me just share real quickly something that I really want to share with you guys is I never had the confidence level that I actually showed in my later years as an at-home dad, and even now. And one of the biggest defining moments in my life is when I attended the At-Home Dad convention. What happened was I remember this is like 1997 or 1996, because the first At-Home Dad convention I think was 1997. Yeah. So I'm in LA area, and I'm driving in my car, and I hear this interview with Casey Spencer, and he's an at-home dad, and they're interviewing him, and I'm going like, oh wow, this is great. They're actually interviewing an at-home dad, something I do. So I kind of made that connection. So I called the radio, and Casey mentioned the At-Home Dad convention. So then I said, well, I got to get a hold of this guy. So I got a hold of him through the radio. And then of course, we connected and we started talking, and he connected me to another guy. And then he said, come to the convention to Chicago. And at that time I was struggling with my identity. It's not that I didn't feel comfortable. I felt really, really comfortable with my choice because I'd been at 4 or 5 years and I loved what I was doing. But everybody around me was telling me that what I was doing was wrong. And my in-laws, my parents, my wife's coworkers, I would show up at school and the moms would be going like, what are you doing here? I was like perceived like as I'm being lazy. I'm the bum. I did this by default. And even despite the fact that I was showing all this love for a special needs child, people just couldn't embrace the idea that a guy was capable of this. Right. And so I was just second guessing myself all the time. So then I go to the convention, I meet Jim DeCenzo and I meet Marty Josephson, and I see how comfortable they are under their skin, and they don't give a shit what anybody else says. Those two guys were pivotal in my life and getting me over the hump. And that's why, I'm so passionate about telling people, you got to keep this convention going, because I saw the impact it had on me. And then I saw the impact that it had on other people. I mean, it's amazing, and I'm sure you guys have experienced all that. So if I have say to anybody who's watching or listening to this, is like, don't let this thing die. And I remember you and I having a conversation, Brock, about how nothing much has changed, and that it's slowly starting to embrace because people have realized you guys aren't going away.
Right. But it's so true though. Like, everything that you just described, from like the identity side to it, to like getting your confidence built up, to running into guys who, like you said, don't give a shit because they're just like, this is my life, to the people that you run into who question what you're doing. It's really it's actually very surprising to me that here we are in 2021 and those same sentiments are still there. They are still the hurdles that us stay-at-home dads deal with on a regular basis. And it's like, come on, everybody, get over it. Like, parents are going to be parents, and people just need to accept that. And I mean, not to get like political or anything, but the crap that's happening right now with the whole paid leave and the family stuff that's going on, and the fact that like, you've got some billionaire dude who can't seem to figure out that life isn't like it was when he was younger, and that, just because you have lots of money doesn't mean everybody else doesn't mean that, you shouldn't be looking out for everybody else. So, yeah, man, I mean, like,
they're leaving dads out of the equation of the whole.
Oh yeah, that too. Definitely. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, when it's just talking about, moms in different realms, and it's like, you need to change the language. Like, it needs to be parents. Like, it doesn't matter, mom, dad, whatever. Like, there are so many different combinations now.
The interesting thing about this too is that I found is that, it's the adults that are making these issues. If you really ask the kids, they don't care if it's mom or dad. They just want a parent there.
Right. Exactly. No, go ahead, Danny. What you got? I'm going to take up your time. Yeah.
Well, no, I just wanted to say that I've had my kids mention it. That like another kid at school had said, what, your dad's doing all the cooking? And my kid has never lived any other way, and my wife knows how to cook, but she's definitely not like, I love cooking and I love making food for people and making them happy. And my kids know that. And my wife will.
Basically, the abnormal is normal for him.
Yeah, there's no difference. And they're like, your mom does all the cooking? Why? Because she's good at it and she loves it, But like you said, the kids have no understanding that it must be this way. It must be this way. This is dad's role. This is mom's role. I mean, my wife and I, after many years of practice, have basically come down to who's best to do this job. Doesn't matter mom or dad. Like, I'll mention the budget as an example because I'm so proud of my wife, because we would be destitute if it was me doing the budget. My wife has a spreadsheet 6 months in advance of our budget. And I'm like, I couldn't even make a month in advance. This is amazing, and she's always on top of it. And it's absolutely obvious she's the best one for it. And I've had other dads and other men, really, I don't know if they were dads, but I've had men be like, well, you got to go ask your wife's permission. I'm like, I don't want to screw up the budget. We have kids to feed. We have bills. I'm going to ask my wife.
That, you have a concern for your wife too. Because I know when my wife decided to stay to go to work, I was very careful to not put too much, because it was a role. I want to make sure that I don't put pressure on her, because she's already dealing with the whole guilt of not being there, and now she's taken on this whole financial provider role. And so I said, hey, I want to watch the budget, and of course I got to communicate with her to make sure we spend the money wisely.
Yeah, so you're a team. It's a team effort. You gotta work together. If you're not communicating, then that's when things start falling apart.
By the way, Danny, I see you smoking a cigar. I smoke cigars too. So when I get to Wisconsin, there we can, have a drink.
Yes.
And
that's what.
And I don't know if you like beer or if you're more like bourbon or whiskey or scotch, but
no, I'm not a bourbon scotch guy, but I'm a beer guy and other alcohol beverages. I tried the bourbon scotch thing. It just doesn't work for me. The closest thing I've done to it was Jack Fire. And if you want to bust my balls about that, go ahead.
No, you're fine. But hey, you're gonna be up there in Wisconsin visiting Danny, and there are lots of good choices for beer up there for sure. Yep. So I'm sure he can find some good stuff for you.
I will ask people that know, because I don't drink beer. I just don't. Okay. And I would be like, here, this is we do actually have a beer that's produced locally. It's called Point Beer, because I'm in Stevens Point, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was bad. Okay. It's not good.
Yeah, I love certain beers I love, but I'm open to trying other things. But can I just share the Chad Welch story real quick? It's a great story, and it's just another example of how, you just never know how a conversation you're having with someone there is going to impact that person, and how it's going to maybe affect the organization in a good way.
Definitely. Who's Chad Welch?
What's that?
Who is Chad Welch?
Chad Welch is he's been on the board in previous years, and he's an at-home dad.
Okay.
So he comes to the convention. I forget which convention he come to, but he's real introvert, real quiet guy, kind of shy. And so we're at the restaurant, and he arrived, and then he planned to leave on Saturday. And so when he mentioned he was leaving Saturday, I felt really bad. I said, "Oh no, it's a shame that you can't stick around." And he said, "Well, I didn't realize the extent of the convention. And, he already had a flavor for it, like he was only there for 2 days." And so he said, "Well, I got to leave because we have a St. Louis football game Cardinals football game to go to tomorrow. And, his wife is going to go with them. Right. And I'm kind of a jokester, I don't know if people have told you that, but.
Oh, yes, you are.
So, hey, come on, even when I was an at-home dad, I was pulling jokes with my kids because it was entertaining and it helped me get through the tough times.
Oh, I didn't say it was a bad thing. I just, yeah, man, for sure.
Okay. So I just turned to Chad and I said, well, why don't you just call up your wife, and ask her if it's okay if you stick around and not go to the football game tomorrow. And then after I said, I'm going like, wait, I rarely know this guy. I don't know what the relationship in the marriage is, and will he actually do it? So he did it. He called his wife up. He was like, I don't know what he said to her, but she gave him the green light and he stayed.
Nice. All right.
I had so much fun with the guy, like, he started getting really comfortable, right? And then and the next couple of years, he's like gung-ho active, and he became Al Watts' campaign manager when he was campaigning for president of the National Banner. He put on this whole big campaign for Al.
Awesome.
Oh,
and
man.
Buttons and everything.
See, Danny, you didn't have to even do a campaign. All you had to do is hand out stickers, Danny. You're good.
I tried to get buttons, man. I just couldn't. I couldn't put it in the budget, unfortunately. But I love it.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I think that it really just shows the whole how quickly you connect with somebody. I mean, it's so fast at HomeDadCon. I mean, partially, in fact, because one, like, you're there, like, that's the whole idea. Like, you've come to be around other people who are like-minded. You don't have to ask what they do because we all know what we do.
And we talked about this too, is that there's no way to describe what happens there.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, just like explosion of awesomeness, honestly. Just because, I mean, you come there and it's like, I think a lot of guys, especially this year,
there's no words. You tried explosion of awesomeness.
I know, I didn't get it. I will say this though. So Philip Fry, who he found us through his, I think it was his therapist or whatever. Like, it was really cool, but he got connected to like the virtual convention, and then he came this year. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I talked to him later and he's like, I had no idea what this was going to be like. He's like, this was amazing. So much like just socializing and camaraderie and knowledge and all these different things. He's like, I just didn't expect that. He's like, I didn't know what I was going to experience, but he's like, I really didn't think it was going to be all of these things. And he was just blown away by it. And I'm like, I'm so glad you came and experienced it, because to know him and to get to know him, like, he's one of those dads where it's like, you could be like, yeah, man, this is really cool, you should check it out. And he kind of would give you that, okay, and not sure if he's going to show up or not.
Yeah.
But then he just, he came, and it was well worth it. And I think that's the thing that I would probably tell most guys who are in a situation where they're just kind of looking at you sideways about, a convention for stay-at-home dads. It's like, well, listen to these guys. Look what they're telling you. Like, what are you into?
Just even the mainstream, you're going to get that same reaction too.
Yeah.
Guys think, hey, they have this like preconceived notion of what it is that, that I'm going there to get fixed or something. And that's not the case. And like you said before, it's like, you don't know what to expect. And then when you get there, it's like way more than you ever expected.
Right. So I want to jump back real quick into some of your books, just to kind of give some folks that are listening to hear something. One of the things that I thought was really cool is you have these books that are directed towards the pregnant mom and the dad to be. And I think that that's really cool, because like, it just sort of basically like shoots holes in the whole, like, what to expect when inspecting kind of deal. And it brings it more into a personal deal. So like, for instance, like, you have what he's thinking when you're pregnant, which I think is just awesome. Like, I didn't even know that was a resource. And my thing is like, when I became a dad, I didn't even think to be like, oh yeah, like, are there even like books on fatherhood like that? I mean, my oldest is 8. So 8 years ago, I never even thought of this, and these books were around, and it just wasn't something that I would have ever thought. But you have that one, and then there's the what she's thinking when she's pregnant. And like those two alone, I would have loved to have had, because honestly, it's like, Who knows? And then the other one I thought that was really great. You have the Modern Mom's Guide to Dads. So those are a few of the ones that I was like, when I was looking through your list of stuff, I was seeing like, man, those were three resources that I would have loved to have had. And then of course you've got the one that you did with Al, which is Dads Behaving Dadly. The 67 Truths, Tears, and Triumphs of a Modern Fatherhood, which I think in line kind of falls in with what we as an organization do for our monthly newsletter, which is try to grab up dad victories, stories from dads within the group who were sharing success stories, or maybe like a failure that took place, but they learned something from it or whatever, and giving light to that and showing guys like, hey, it's okay if you screw up. Like,
those two books are amazing too, because we have dads from other countries. That's
cool.
Yeah.
That's even better too, because like you're getting that culture, outside of what you might know.
And just speaking of the newsletter, just so it's out there, Hogan, if you ever feel like, hey, I'd like to write something for the newsletter. Yeah. Okay, come on.
Yes, you are more than welcome.
Anything you want.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that invitation, because this road trip is like opening a whole new world for me. And as you know, I'm journaling. I'm just writing descriptions of like reuniting with dads, and also meeting new dads. And what's great about this trip too is that the at-home dads that I know, I get to meet their families.
Yes.
Because can we just have like a Dear Hogan type thing, like Dear Abby, let people like for those of us who know what Dear Abby is.
Enthusiasm, Brock, and support. Yeah. I know. Right now, I'm just trying to have fun, and I'm just doing this for my own personal reasons. And people have already talked about, well, thinking about writing a book, blah blah blah. And I'm going like, well, I'll see how this plays out, right? But we'll see. But I'm just having fun, and that's the one thing that again, I feel blessed, is that I've only met the dads at the convention, and now I get to meet the women that supported them. I get to meet their kids. I'm having a blast with the wives and the kids. And I told Phil. Phil was a fabulous host. I mean, he's always checking up on me to see if I'm okay on the trip, right? And so I finally got to meet his wife, Ann, and she's got a great sense of humor. I just love her company. And then one night when Phil dropped me off, I said, hey, Phil, tomorrow night you stay home. I'm going to go out with your wife, Ann.
Well, I really like the fact that you get to come here to the house and you got to meet my wife for a little bit. She took a break from what she was doing work wise in the office, and got to hang out on the porch for a little bit and talk. So definitely that's really cool that you're getting to meet all the supportive spouses of the dads. That's really cool.
Kids, I love that because I just moved up to Wisconsin, and the Twin Cities are about 3 hours away. So it may not be like a daily thing or a weekly thing, but they've already planned several events, and they're like, they put me in the list. I'm like, yeah, we'd love to. And I think about going, after COVID and everything, going to their house and hanging out, and, they want to grill, or they've got a pool or whatever, but all of our kids together and just all playing together, even if they don't get along or whatever, what may happen. But the reality of it being, you see someone really in their element, and you really learn a lot more about who they are and what an awesome person they are and what an awesome dad they are, because you see how they operate with their kids. And then, of course, that relationship with the spouse too is always.
I have a funny story about Al. When I went to visit Al, I went there because we were editing the books and stuff, and so I got to spend some time with him and his family. And it's just interesting, like, to see the different parenting styles that you see, like, in other families, and they do what they do because that's what works for them, right? And Al is a real stickler for like discipline with his kids and everything, which is great. And he puts them in timeout. And so, like, I'm hanging around the house, and I'm a goofball and everything. It's like he was so strict and disciplined. It's like he even got to me, and I'm going like, I better be careful how I behave, because he might put me in timeout.
Well, we got to meet one of Al's kids actually this year for HomeDadCon, because his son Miles came and spoke about his journey of basically transiting to transmasc and did I say that right?
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah,
transgender masculine. So
and so it was really cool to get to talk to Miles and just to see the relationship that he has with his dad. It was actually really cool. Joe Saladino, who we've had on the show before as part of the Sad Beer Cast, he's also a photographer, and he, it's not unusual to see him with a camera in his hand when he's at HomeDadCon, and he snapped this beautiful picture of him and Miles, of Al and Miles, just in a like very tender embrace after we were doing some group shots outside, and it's just, you could just see the love. It was just amazing. And then the next day, like, we actually got to hear him in the keynote, and it just kind of all came together. But I could see that with Al. Like, he's definitely disciplined. I mean, I'm sure,
but in a very loving way. And you see that with Miles. But no, when I was with Al, he definitely loves his kids. And every at-home dad, not every dad I've met, whether the mainstream at-home dads that I've known, I mean, I see so much love in so many different ways. And Miles is lucky to have Al as a dad. Especially this day and age. And it's nice that you guys embraced that part of it, because not everybody experiences that. But I think like, even for me, with Wesley and Al with Miles, and some of the abnormal situations that we've had to deal with, is that I think, for me, and I think it's true with Al, is like, when he sees Miles, he tries to make life as normal as possible as he can for Miles. And that's kind of the same thing that I did with Wesley. I not only made life normal for him, but I was making life normal for me, because he's just my kid. And, my whole thing with him was that, because so many times you get dads that kind of live vicariously through their kids, and they want their kids like to excel and do this stuff. And like, Wesley has kind of opened up a whole new world for me. And he made me realize that, I should live up to his expectations of me, not the other way around. And so,
that's so true.
So I am curious. So you have 3 boys, right?
Yeah.
So your oldest boy you were telling me he plays volleyball. Is that correct?
Grant played volleyball. And so did Matt. Grant's 31 and Matt's 28. Now Wesley's 30. Yeah.
Okay. And so Wesley, like you were saying in the video, and we were talking about tonight, like he needs like around the clock care. What does that look like for him now as a 30-year-old adult?
Well, his lifespan could be anywhere like 70 or 80. I mean, that just reality. Some kids that have special needs, if they have medical problems, they die a little bit early, but every kid's different.
But is he in assisted living, or how?
He's in assisted living. I was very diligent in terms of finding the right house with the right people. Like anything else, got to do your homework, and And you really need to do that, because, I have, like, on this trip, like, I'm away from him, but I have peace of mind knowing that he's in good hands. I communicate with the caregivers on a regular basis, and, just to let him know that, ask him if he's okay and stuff like that. And COVID-19 actually prepared me for this trip too, because during COVID-19, I couldn't see him for 18 months. And that was really hard, because I frequently visited him, and I understood why. And there's no, like, we couldn't do Zoom and stuff like that, because he just doesn't, he can't put that all together. And if he saw me, he wouldn't want to touch me.
Yeah.
So we just said, hey, no, don't worry. But Wesley has no sense of time. So after 18 months, when I went there, it was just as if he saw me like maybe like 3 to 4 days ago.
Awesome.
Well, that's good. I mean,
I'm lucky in that sense.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's great. Well, hey, Hogan, thanks so much for coming on and giving us some time to just talk with you. Dude, I really, it was a pleasure to get to meet you in person. I still kick myself that I woke up in the morning and realized that I didn't even get you to sign the book.
Well, I actually have a surprise for you, and I have a quick comment to make. I'm coming back, and I'm going to sign the book for you.
What?
I'm going to reroute my trip. I'm coming up. Yeah, I'll let you know when.
Okay.
I told Danny this last night, so I'm going to come around. Then I'm going to go through Lexington way back, and then I'm, because I'm only an hour and a half away, and I know if I take off, I'm going to be myself up for not going back.
Well, you got to let me know ahead of time when, so that I can go to my favorite bottle shop and get you a good mixer of Cincinnati beers for you to take with you.
Oh, okay, sounds good. No, I'll definitely do that. But just some parting words. Okay, look, it's being an at-home dad or any kind of dad, and even in the mainstream, is hard, and you're going to have issues and challenges. My advice would be have fun. You know, you can still have fun, and that'll get you over the rough edges. And just even have conversations with them, even if it's on the phone, but make that connection, because that's going to help your skin get a little thicker. Also, show some compassion for your spouses, and talk to them and say, hey, I know you're struggling. I know that you're taking on a different role, because the media has really ignored that. Because they're always focusing on us, and that's a new role for them. And so, have some empathy for your wife and the role that she's learning how to do. And, I saw my role as a privilege. I mean, I have great respect for she's my ex-wife now, but I still have great respect for her, because she gave me an opportunity that most women wouldn't give to any man. And I have no regrets for being an at-home for 20 years. And the last thing that I need to say to all you guys is, like, keep on daddy and don't stop.
Love it, man. Yay. Thank you so much for sharing all that, dude. Seriously, wow.
So I'll see you soon. And Danny, I'm looking forward to seeing you, man. And
yes, sir.
Light up a cigar, have a few drinks, and love to hear more about your life and your family, man.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. And whenever.
Lots of love to you guys. Thanks for doing the show.
Love you, Hogan, so much.
Thanks, Hogan. Have a good one.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.